Welcome back to Mountain Connections. Right now, we are joined virtually by the medical director at Intermountain's Park City Hospital, Dr. Wing Province. Going to get an update on how COVID is looking right here in our community and many other things that are happening at the hospital and beyond. Dr. Province, thanks for being here.
Good morning, Christine. Thank you for having me.
It's great to connect once again. We always appreciate the excellent and informative information that you give us to help our community, especially during this tough time. So how would you describe the state of the pandemic right here in Park City as relates to COVID numbers, vaccines, hospital capacity, all those things?
Yeah, thanks, Christine. We are doing really well. I'm really proud of where we live and the community members that are here that are making it such great news to share. Currently, we're still seeing COVID patients. Just worked an overnight shift, and my first patient was COVID positive. However, the degree and the severity of COVID illness is certainly much better than it was, a few months ago, and certainly a year ago. I would say what I'm most proud of, though, are the vaccination rates that we have in our community right now. The most recent numbers that I saw, folks that are 70 and over, we have about 94% of them double vaccinated. The next age group down, I think we have numbers close to 70 or 80%. And just overall, I think we have one of the highest vaccinated counties in the country. And that has a lot to do with the community partners here. A lot of credit goes to the Department of Health and the vaccine clinic they're running. We also have been doing quite a bit of vaccinating at our facility at the hospital. And then some of the other community partners and pharmacies in the county have been doing a great job with that too. And I think most of the credit needs to go to the people in our community, though, who are wanting to get vaccinated, who are trusting the counsel and advice of us as healthcare workers and public health officials. But Summit County is a really safe place to be right now.
Which is very good to hear, and it's great that the community is doing their part in reducing spread, but we also so appreciate people on the front line, such as you, Dr. Province, for giving us this information and for working so hard and tirelessly throughout this entire time to help us during this pandemic. I'm curious, we're hearing different things throughout the news of, horrible problems in India, as well as here in the States, concerts, maybe even cruises are coming back. But then there's also a concern that people might not be getting their second vaccine. So there's a lot of different information out there. But I'm curious, Dr. Province, what are you personally concerned about, or how are you feeling about the outlook over the next few weeks?
Well, first, even though it's a world away to us here in Utah, my heart aches for all of our brothers and sisters out there in India who are going through this. I was thinking, Christine, it was exactly a year ago, I was in New York seeing similar outcomes with patients there. And so for me, it's particularly a hard scene to watch on the news and to see the numbers that are coming out of there in India. So I hope that the folks listening here, even though they're not living that, can still keep those folks in mind. We're having a bit of a similar outbreak in Michigan where we're seeing ICUs overrun and hospitals getting filled. I think the takeaway for people here in Utah, or at least here in Summit County, is that the pandemic's not over. And even though we're feeling spring weather and we're seeing mask mandates loosened, what India and what Michigan highlight are the fact that there's a lot of variants that are coming out that are not the original virus that we were dealing with a year ago, but are a bit different. And as a result of that, we still need to be vigilant in keeping the needs of others ahead of our own and doing those tedious things that may seem, but hopefully maybe second nature now, of wearing a mask and making sure that we're not getting into big groups in public or in our homes.
You mentioned that it was a year ago that you went to New York City along with other Intermountain medical personnel to help with the COVID crisis there. In fact, there's a reunion today about that trip. Tell me more about that.
Yes, we're going to get together with virtually with a few folks from New York, from some of the health systems that we went and volunteered for, and then they reciprocated that help by sending some of their healthcare workers out here to help us and share lessons learned. I can still see it in my mind's eye. The hospital that I went to every day, the people's faces whom I worked with, the people's faces whom I saw pass away and those who are struggling to breathe. And just, I can see it all like it was yesterday, and I'm sure they can too, these people who will be on this call. And I think it'll be therapeutic to get together and share some memories and what we learned from that, and hopefully make it beneficial in what we share for those who will be watching and listening with us today.
I know that was a life-changing experience for all of the staff that went and were able to help out during that crisis. And then those staff members at the hospital in New York came out here and helped with us when our numbers were increasing this past summer. What a crazy ride it has been. And we've been so grateful, Dr. Province, that you've come back and you shared your knowledge and what you learned from New York and how the emotions of that were affecting how you were treating people here and how you were hoping everyone was taking the pandemic seriously, which I feel that our community absolutely has. So this information has been so important to us and to our viewers. And once again, I want to definitely thank you for that, and looking forward to hearing more about this reunion after it happens this morning. I know that you also recently did a discussion with schools about vaccines and teenagers. I'd love to hear a quick recap of that.
Yeah, you got it. So again, our healthcare, or our health department here in Summit County is just phenomenal, led by the real principled leadership of Rich Bullo. And he and his department were able to get vaccines, the Pfizer vaccine for 16 and 17-year-olds, and for all Summit County residents, whether you lived in or went to North Summit schools, South Summit schools, or Park City High School. And offered it to any 16 or 17-year-old who and up who wanted to come and get vaccinated, along with their parents. So I think that was a couple weeks ago. They held it on a Monday and had a really good turnout. I heard that they got near 500 people who were vaccinated at that time. And what that means for those kids is, as I hear about many of them having to get tested every couple weeks for school, once you're vaccinated, my understanding is you won't have to be tested every couple weeks to make sure you're COVID free. Same thing, I heard about kids having to get tested before they went to prom. If they're vaccinated, the incentive is, you won't have to be doing that so frequently. And that's more of a personal incentive. Now, more generally speaking, if you are vaccinated and those kids are, they don't have to worry about, what I saw a lot in New York and even here in Utah, kids who were their ages who were worried that they had exposed their parents or grandparents to COVID and then put them in the hospital. So it just makes their family safer. It makes our community safer, and it will open their lives up to have a little bit more freedom to do a few more things that they wouldn't be able to do beforehand. And maybe we'll get a chance to talk about this later this morning, Christine, but the CDC came out with new guidelines for people who have been vaccinated, and those will now apply to those 16 and 17-year-olds who went out and got vaccinated a couple weeks ago.
Which is great to hear that there are these new guidelines. It does feel like another step in hoping to combat this pandemic and this virus. And unfortunately, we're out of time, Dr. Province, today, but we always are so grateful that you spend time with us, keeping us updated on what is happening in our local community. It's good to know that our numbers are down, that people here are getting vaccinated, but also another takeaway is that it's not over yet, and we still need to be very diligent and very careful. And once again, we're so grateful for the hard work of our medical personnel, staff all across our community here in Park City and Summit County who've worked so hard during this pandemic to keep us safe. We'll be back with more right here on this Friday, right after this.